Hi there, I'm so glad you're joining me today. My name is Melissa Lemon, and this month I'm talking about authenticity, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about authenticity in religion. So, yesterday I talked about authenticity in spirituality, and today I'm going to talk about a little bit about authenticity in religion and some of the problems we face with this, and how to overcome some of those challenges and raise the vibrations of ourselves and our fellow beings. And really, the goal, I think, with religious authenticity is to get to a place where we feel comfortable being authentic in our religion, and we feel super accepting of other people in their religious authenticity, no matter what it is. So, twofold things here. So, I'll talk a little bit about both. So, I belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I have to say, sometimes that's hard. Sometimes that's hard to say. Sometimes that's hard to admit, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And I'll just unpack a few of those for here, right here. And one of those is persecution. I wouldn't say I've been super persecuted for my religion, but that's because I live, like, that's most of my associations are people in my religion, right? And so um, I haven't experienced that a whole lot. I just know of it happening to people. I know of it happening in the past. There's a whole history in our church of that, and then I've heard stories of people sharing this. I never served a full-time mission for the church, and I know a lot of people who do that. I actually have a daughter who just got home from a mission, and she faced persecution. Like, I know a lot of people face it, and I really haven't had that. I just know of it, and so it can be scary to share your religion if there's been any persecution related to your religion. And I'll just share an interesting story. And I was in Maryland attending graduate school, and we had this class, and it was all about authenticity. It was like, be your real self here in this class and share your real feelings. And it was an amazing class. The teacher was amazing. And on the first day, she invited us to just share something super raw and authentic about ourselves. And I chose to share that I was a Mormon. And I used the term Mormon because more people get it the first time. People who aren't really familiar with the church don't know that the church is requesting that people use the full name of the church. And so people who don't know don't get that sometimes when you say it. And so it's easier a lot of the times to just say, I belong, I'm a Mormon, because people know exactly what that is. They have some reference for that. And it was such a fascinating class. It wasn't authenticity, it was a diversity class. I just remember it was a diversity class. And this diversity class was so incredible because it had some Christians in it, it had some agnostic people in it, probably had some atheist people in it. Some people never talked about their religion or anything, but there was a Jewish man in my class, there was a Muslim woman in my class. It was just so amazing. This class was so amazing that we got to come together and we got to talk about our differences. And there were black people in the class, and there were just, it was like all varieties of people in this class, and it was so amazing to be a part of that experience. And I remember just some of the reactions of people in my class to that. It was really interesting to see. It was in a very safe space. Like I said, the teacher was wonderful. She was a wonderful facilitator, a wonderful teacher, and it was a safe place to share that because of her expertise, I think. But it was just fascinating throughout in that moment, I guess. And then later, that came up at least one other class time. And it was fascinating to see people's reaction to that. And most of it, even though I've had this fear of it being negative and maybe rejection, most of it was curiosity. And I know that's not always going to happen. There really are, the persecution things do happen, but it was so refreshing to just be able to be myself and to have it be met with curiosity. And people would ask me about my religion. Polygamy, of course, came up. And, I answered those questions the best that I could at the time. I would answer them differently now, but I just think it's so interesting that we have any division at all, because we're all part of the same species, we're all part of the same family. And if we could learn to love each other in our differences, and specifically today I'm talking about our religious differences, the world would be healed. I just was like, I couldn't even find it. Like, it would be better. It would be all better. would be all better. It would be great. So, um, like I said, it's been hard for me at times to admit to be authentic religiously. And, sometimes I'm afraid people aren't going to understand what I say, or maybe I don't want to explain it after I say it, but it's important that we allow ourselves to be authentic religiously, and it's important that we hold that space for other people. So, um, I think it's really important. Religion can be a hot topic, and a lot of us, maybe a lot of us who are happy in our religions, want to share it with other people. And I think it's wise sometimes, instead of always wanting to share it, to be receptive to other people's religious authenticity, rather than always wanting to share it with a motivation to maybe change somebody's mind or something, but just to fully and completely accept people in their religious authenticity and learning about their religion with curiosity and with respect and honoring them and honoring their religion and their religious history. Man, I think the world would be such a much different and much better place if we could all learn that skill. It's a skill that I'm still learning, and honestly, I don't have the opportunity to practice it very much because, like I said, my interactions are mostly with people of my same religion, and um, I miss living in Maryland. I miss being in a place where I had the opportunity to come across such diverse backgrounds on a daily basis. I miss it with all my heart, and I just want to encourage everybody to get real with themselves, to 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 try to be more comfortable in your religious authenticity, and to be more accepting of others in their religious authenticity, and meet them with curiosity and respect and honor and love, because we are all part of the same big wonderful family. So anything else about religious authenticity? Um, I guess maybe I'm thinking this has a little bit to do with spirituality, but I think there's also religious authenticity can be, sometimes we struggle. Sometimes we struggle in our religion. Different things can cause us to maybe struggle, to maybe question, our religion and things like that, and that's okay. I think that can be a very safe thing to do. I think questions are safe. I think needing answers or wanting answers is healthy. And so that's okay if anybody's kind of in that space where they're kind of like, I'm just exploring, I'm trying to figure out where I fit in, or maybe I'm going a different way than where I grew up, or whatever. I think that's okay as long as we are staying connected with our Creator and our hearts are in the right places and we're taking the Holy Spirit as our guide. We can't really go wrong. I think it's important that we understand and recognize and respect that we're all on our own journey, and having that respect for ourselves and allowing ourselves freedom to explore, freedom to process, freedom to ask questions, freedom to get those questions answered. I think that's so important. So um, I'm just gonna be a little authentic about that. I have been struggling in my religion for a while, and I've put a lot of work into processing that, and so I'm not exactly sure how much to share about that, but there are some things that have come to my attention that have made it difficult to stay in my religion. And that it can be distressing. It has been distressing. Actually, it's been really distressing. I think I'm speaking today in a place of acceptance of myself, and I feel much better about it. But the last several years have been really taxing and stressful and uncomfortable for me, because I've been facing this in my own life, this exploration, this needing questions, and it's been hard because not everybody can meet you there. Not everybody can be accepting of that and welcoming of that, and some people are fearful of that, and that's not helpful. And it's just I feel like I need to talk about how to be a safe place for somebody who's questioning their religion. And so I'm going to go over a few things, and honestly, I didn't have any of this really. Well, I had a little bit, but I feel like the help I had were other people who were questioning their religion. I wish I could have had help from anybody I wanted help from, or from anybody, maybe ecclesiastical leaders or a spouse, even. Like, it would have been so helpful to be met in some of these ways by regular people who weren't having the same experience. And so I'll just share a few things that I think would have been really helpful for me. And that would have been people listening with compassion and empathy and without fear and judgment. That would have been really helpful. And I hope we can all get to a place where we can do that someday. I think also just being authentic and real as well. I know I've got a video somewhere on my YouTube page about this a little bit, but sometimes when sitting down with people, there's this scripted response, and that to me has always been so unhelpful. It feels so cold to hear a scripted response from somebody. It's like listening to a robot. It's like listening to AI in a robotic voice. It's so not real and not human. And it would have been helpful if in some situations people would have been able to meet me with their true authenticity. And actually that did happen once with an ecclesiastical leader, and it totally took me by surprise. Because I had spoken to one, and he was very kind, but I didn't feel like he really listened to me or even considered the things that I said. And then when I sat down with the other one, he was like, I totally get it. And he talked about his own issues and things that he's had. And that was way more helpful, way more healing than the first one. Not like the first one bothered me, because I've had some really negative experiences with ecclesiastical leaders, and that was like nothing in comparison. But it was very different than going and sitting down and having somebody say and admit, yeah, I've struggled too. I've struggled too, and I totally get it. And it was a way different experience, and a very positive experience, and it helped me heal a little bit. And so when we can listen to people, when we can understand their concerns unrobotically, just as a human being, and have that compassion and empathy and love for people, and gratitude that they're sharing a part of their heart and their life and their experience with us, and their thoughts and struggles, if we can get to that spot, then we're going to be in a much better place on this planet. And so that is what I have for you today about religious authenticity, and I hope that was helpful. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, or leave a comment, and we'll see you next time. Bye.